Hey guys, okay, so I wanted to really quickly go through how I plan my year and even my days. Um, this looks like a lot of books, and I don't know, I would love to say that I will get it into one planner eventually, but it works so well for us this way that I do it, so I don't know, maybe we'll eventually get it into one planner, which the well-planned day is perfect for that. I could put it on here, but for the kids, and I'll explain why, it is a little bit easier for them to not feel so overwhelmed in the school year. If they look at my planner, then they're overwhelmed and they don't understand. So, but I use the well-planned day. Obviously, this is the 2017-2018 year. I'll go through this here in a little bit, but this is a wonderful planner that it helps me even plan my meals, my shopping lists, and just my day in general, plus my homeschooling. So I love this. But then these are our books. I'm actually still waiting on a lesson plan book in the mail for my oldest, who is starting high school, and so I've kind of changed a little some things a little bit up for him, because I wanted him to have, since he's now in high school, I wanted him to have his own record book. I don't want it mixed in with the kids', so for the next 4 years, 9th through 12th, he will have his own record book. That way, if I ever need to give anything, oh, you can hear my puppies in the background. If I ever need to give any information or record keeping, then his is at least all together in one book, and I don't have to sift through for the other kids. But this is my daughter's lesson plan book, and then this is my son's lesson plan book. He is in 2nd grade, and she will be in 7th grade. They individually have their own planners outside of mine, so that every day or every week they can look through and see what their week's going to be like, and for that day especially, what at this time we're needing to focus on this, or what mommy's doing that day, and they like to see that in front of them. I already have his filled out, so I'll go ahead and give you kind of a good idea of how I do things. It works for us. This would probably not work for everybody, but there's a method to our madness. So let me get a good page here. So for this year, we live in Indiana, so our state has to have 180 days. We do a BECA curriculum, so the BECA curriculum is only 170 days of work. So we kind of stretch that out, and we do field trips. We do all kinds of educational field trips in our area, so obviously those would count as days. So it's not hard for us to hit the mark. But really, other than that, Indiana is not too strict on their rules, which I guess that's good and bad for people who would abuse it, and then it's good for us who don't abuse it, and we want to very much so give our kids a good education. So anyway, so to start this off, now I'll try to zoom in as much as I can so you guys can see. I'll flip it over here. We are starting school on actually a Tuesday this year. I wanted to start on a Monday. I work night shifts, so on the weekends, so it just worked out for us to start on Tuesday. So Tuesday is our first day of school, which is the 22nd of, let me zoom in here, there you go, there you can see it, the 22nd of August. So as you can see here, we show our Bible, math, language, and his reading, and on this page. So he would start off with Bible class. We would read his verse, do our reading and our teaching class, then he would do the memory verse, and then we have planned it out to pretty much spend about 45 minutes for each class, 30 minutes for lunch, and then they do have their break times, and they often, hey mom, can I have a 10-minute break? And actually that's one of their rewards that they can earn in their mom bucks and different things like that. So they and I squeeze it all in there, so we're not completely crazy strict on this, but it gives us a good foundation to go off of, and we can follow that. And then in math lesson, language lesson, and I have it marked on which lesson, so they know they can look ahead of time and look at their lesson that's going to be for that day. And then language obviously adds in spelling class. The reading for obviously a second grader is quite a bit, and we do a lot of reading. So we add in the Abeka curriculum, plus we do our extra readings in this, maybe our story times and such. For the first week, it's going to be pretty straightforward and simple, and I have not filled the rest of this out because after getting through their curriculum and putting it in the book, I've also added in what? Oh, okay. Will you get him that? Thank you. As we've added in, or as I've added in the curriculum, now I'll go back through and add in all the extra stuff that I have, like for health, PE, art, music, which would be after lunch. This would be the time that I would go through and add in different activities that I wanted them to do for either health, PE, art, or music. They have health books, so I already have that marked to read out of his little health book in here, and that actually doesn't start, because it's quite small. It doesn't start till the next week, so he will not start health reading until the next week. Oh, I'm sorry, I marked lunch. I'm totally off. Can't remember what I did. So lunch is after, not before this. And then we do science, and then history, and then writing. Now, as you can see, I don't have to do these every day because in second grade, the books are so small. So on a day where we don't do our reading, or even if we do because it's not very much. So like on this day when we're going to do history, I might do a little small science. Depending on what we're talking about in class, we might do a science experiment or so forth and so on. Or if it's PE, we might go hiking or do something and then incorporate different things in that, which of course on a hike you could do so much learning in. And then in history, so I have all kinds of activities to do in all these subjects, and this would be our history time. I don't know if you can see any of this. So I'm making all kinds of noise. There we go, that's a little bit better. And then in our history, we would incorporate anything, like I'll go ahead and, okay, so it says page 4 through 6. So now is the time, since I've got the whole planner marked out, I'll go back through and I'll look, okay, well, what are we going to be looking at and reading about or studying on that lesson of that day, page 16 through 17. And if it talks about, which obviously his won't yet, but just for instance, if it talks about the gold rush, I have all kinds of other books and activities on that, so I will then plan that in this to where we can do an activity with that. So you kind of get the general idea of how I plan our year and how I plan our day. Obviously, it's, as you can see, it's starting to get more filled, and as we go on, and then I'll add in all the activities that I have. If you've seen my other videos, you know that I have added in all kinds of extra books and activities that we can do, or read alouds, or story time, a lot of fun art projects and different things like that. And so that kind of gives you a general idea of what we do. And it's actually planned even in here. I've gone so far as to write down what charts we need to go over for what lessons. And so it's a lot of time taken. You got to go through the books of what your kids are on and what that lesson might incorporate, and then you can do your own adding. And you know your child, you know what extras they need or what would just be fun for them. So and one extra thing I'll tell you, because I think in my next video I'll be showing you a book that I got for it. One of these eventually talks about you know, the insects that they go through and different things like that in science. And at some point we'll talk about honeybees, so I have extra books on honeybees and how important they are and what all they do, and the different kinds of honey from what they harvest off of. And then you can do fun activities like making candles with wax, and or sampling honey. We have a lot of farmers in our area that harvest their own honey from their bees, and they have their own honeybees. So going out on a field trip with that, or getting their little honey sticks and trying different kinds of honey. So we have all kinds of fun stuff planned, but that gives you a general idea. I do not have, I'm sorry, that any of the other kids' books filled out just yet. I just got this one completed, so I thought I'd run through it real quick and show you what all I do. And then I'll eventually fill out my daughter's, and then when I get my oldest in the mail, I'll fill out his, and I'll go through those with you as well. And then I will show you how I fill out my planner and how I use it. I have to say, I cannot give this enough credit for the dinner menus and the weekly priorities and different things that it helps me with. And so if you spend a lot of money on groceries, which we do as homeschool moms, feeding them, they're not eating lunch at schools or anything like that. So meal planning is huge in our home for all the kids. So it helps out a lot. But I will eventually get to show you that and how I plan this out and how it helps me. So thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for the other lesson plans.